Hello. It's been a few days and I apologize for that, but I've been off with some family. We went to Bryce Canyon and saw some of nature's wonders down there and makes you appreciate the wonderful country we live in. I have a story today that's actually two or three little stories, but one of the things that happened while we were gone, we were discussing some things and somebody brought up rats as a topic. And I'm afraid that most of you think of rats and you think of some of the movies that have been out about the little rat that was a chef, uh, and there's a story of a rat's tail that's a movie. Rats aren't really like that. It's kind of a glorified picture. The There was a period of time when one particular year, when I was 14, that we had a rat infestation in Oklahoma. They were the Normandy rats, and they were about this long. Well, some of them were that long, tail to the head. So 9, 10 inches of body and 6 or 8 inches of tail. And they ate everything that was around. Well, the story that I'm telling you is some true stories that happened that year. We had a corn crib, and the corn crib had a wooden floor in it, and the rats had gnawed a hole through the wooden floor, and we used up the corn, and we had scooped it all out. It was ear corn, and scooped it all out, and right in the middle of this granary, this square wooden bin, if you will, the rats had chewed a hole through the floor. And so the hole is maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches in diameter. And they would come in there and they'd been eating the corn. And of course, when we took all the corn out, rats had gone everywhere. And so Bobby Holman, Ronnie Stanley, and I, we thought we were pretty tough and we were going to kill some rats. So we got clubs and we got a couple of chairs in there, and we went in at night, and we had a disc off of a farm implement, just a metal round disc. And we got real quiet sitting in there until we could hear lots of rats that had come in this hole. And we slid the disc over the hole. Now, this granary would hold grain, so there was no place for the rats to go except through that hole. We closed the door, and then we turned on the light. And there must have been somewhere in the vicinity of 30 or 40 rats in there. Let me tell you something about a rat. He'll fight. They get scared, they run away, but when they get cornered, they'll fight. And if you've never had the experience of a rat running up your pants leg on the outside, thank goodness we had sense enough to tuck our bottoms of our jeans inside our socks and shoes. But rats, I knocked rats off of as high as my waist in there. And you get them in a corner, they will turn around and bare their teeth like a mean dog or a wild animal. They are a wild animal. And so I had nightmares for some period of time after that of rats attacking me. But we destroyed a lot of rats that night. But we finally left while some of them were still alive. Those we wound up shooting with rat shot out of 22 pistols. So that's one rat story. Now, at that same period of time, we had a little dog that was half English Pointer and half Airedale. A little white dog, we called him Tip. And he loved to chase rats and kill rats. And every morning, he and mine's routine, I had several pig troughs. A pig trough that we had made, taken a water heater and cut it, split it long ways in half and put feet on it. So when you had it sitting on the ground and it was open, it was like a bowl, if you will, only it's anywhere from 3 to 5 feet long. And we used to slaughter pigs or feed grain or whatever we fed them, we'd put in those hog troughs. Well, if you turn that hog trough over, then it hid anything that got under it, and it had maybe 6 or 8 inches of clearance under there. Well, because we had so many rats that year, I took a bunch of those troughs and we were in the pig pen and out in some other areas too. I had a 7 or 8 of those troughs, probably was 8, because that 4 hot water tanks cut in half. Anyway, Tip and I would go out of a morning and I would pick up those hog troughs or turn them over, and there'd be anywhere from 1 to 3 rats under them. Well, he soon learned, Tip did, that when we went out to do this, he'd get between the pig trough and the barn because the rats always ran for the barn. Now, this is bare ground, essentially, that we're on. If I'd turn it over and there was only 1 rat, Tip would wait. He'd stand maybe halfway between the pig trough and the barn, and he'd wait for the rat to run, and then he'd attack it. If there was 3, I've seen him get all 3 before they got to the barn, but if there was 3, he would dive right in to get the first one and then chase the other 2. It was a summer that we had lots and lots of rats. Now, we also had a cat that had been dropped off, and we had named it Sam, only we had to change the name to Samantha when she had babies. And so she had babies, and she had 3 little babies, and I had seen her catch rats and give her babies a rat. Well, one day I'm coming out of the house and I see one of the little kittens, and he's maybe half grown. He's maybe 10 inches long, and he's coming toward the house, and he's got a dead rat. He's pulling it. He's going along carrying this dead rat. And he couldn't stand on either side of it. He had to turn his head sideways and bite the rat and walk sideways to get it up there. But when he got up close to the barn, his mama and his 2 siblings were sitting up there, and they were sitting on the porch. And so this little cat had pulled the rat up until he's about, maybe 3 feet from the mom and the other 2. And he stopped and he panted for a little while because it was hard work. And then he looked up at them and he growled and he backed away. And he was showing them what had taken place. When he backed away, his ears laid flat back and he leapt on that rat. Now the rat's dead, but he jumped on that rat and he's grabbed it and he's rolling over and over with this rat. And the other 3 are just sitting there at full attention, watching him demonstrate how he had caught this rat and had killed it and had brought it for their showing. Animals have funny things. Now, this is a program that we're supposed to be talking about horses, but horses do some funny things along with that. I was in western Oklahoma a few years ago, driving around looking for horses to buy, and I found one that I bought. But when I found him, and he was in a pasture next to the highway, and as I'm approaching this, it's a flat road, flat straight road, and I can look up ahead, quite a ways, and here's a herd of horses out in the pasture. And so there's one horse standing over in the corner next to the highway. And as I get close, I'm pulling a horse trailer and driving along. Well, he races me down the path. You've seen dogs chase a truck or something. This horse was chasing my truck. And we get to the end of the pasture and he stopped. And I pulled over there to just watch a minute. And there was a semi going the other way and he chased the semi back the length of each pasture. He wouldn't chase cars. He was chasing trucks, big trucks. Drove into the little town up there, and it was noontime, and one of the little bitty Oklahoma towns had a single cafe for the whole town, and I went in to have lunch, and I asked the manager, I said, "Hey, there's a pasture full of horses out here, about 2 miles out of town." I said, do you by chance know who has those?" And he said, "I sure do." He said, "It's the man sitting right over there at that table." So I went over and introduced myself, and I said, I'm interested in buying one or two of your horses, or are they for sale?" And he said, "You bet." He said, "I've got a horse on the racetrack that I need some money to be able to keep him there." So we went out to the pasture. Well, and they came into a small corral. There were two horses. There was one picked up a stick with his mouth, and another horse tried to grab the stick. And they were playing keep away, run and buck and pull. When they could both get a hold of the stick, they'd just bear down and pull for all they were worth. Well, that speaks of a lot of personality in a horse. I wound up buying both of them that were playing with the stick. And I named the one Donata and the other one Bunker Hill. Turned into really good jumping horses, and you'll hear some more stories about Donata. But the fact that they were playing with that stick and that he was chasing cars is similar to what other animals do their lives. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll come back and finish the story on Donata a little later. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.